All right. Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, September 20th, 2022, and you're at the Community Redevelopment Agency for the City of Opa-locka. We're going to now call the meeting to order. The time is now 6:01. Roll call, Madam Clerk, please.
Board Member Bass.
I'm here.
Board Member Taylor.
Here.
Board Member Williams. Vice Chair Davis. Chair Russell.
Here.
And for the record, Chair Russell, Board Member Dominguez will not be joining us this evening.
Okay, thank you. We're going to proceed with prayer. We're going to ask Board Member Bass if you will lead us in prayer. Then we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance. So would you stand, please?
God, we thank you for bringing us together one more time in your name. God, we ask that you come into this meeting, that we do your will for your people. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Correction, that was not Commissioner Board Member Bass, that was Board Member Taylor. Madam Clerk, do we have any add-ons?
Chair, I'll allow Mr. Delane to speak in regards to the items of documents that's to everyone's right. Mr. Delane.
Good evening, everyone. Through the chair, the 3 items that were added, well, 4 items that were added to the right of everyone includes the bank statements with the expenditure logs. The breakout of the budget, which includes the admin expenses of the CRA. The next printout is the budget narrative. The next is the RFP for bookkeeping services. And the last document goes for item H1 for the audit finding for the first item.
Can I have a motion to accept those add-ons, please?
Move it.
Second.
Moved and second. Roll call, Madam Clerk, please.
Board Member Bass. Board Member Taylor.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair. Oh, I just thought about, we don't have a quorum.
That's correct.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I would have requested a motion to amend the agenda to allow for the public presentation first.
okay,
Which doesn't need to be voted upon.
okay. All right, will rescind that, please. And
Motion.
we're going to move to public comments.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
For the record, I would like to say it is 6:04 and Vice Chair Davis has entered the meeting and we do now have a quorum. Thank you, Madam Chair.
okay. All right, we were just on the add-on items, Vice Chair, that we're adding on. So, Madam Clerk, are you ready?
Okay.
We can do the add-ons. Vice Chair Davis.
Yes,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay,
Okay, so just for clarification, motions on the floor to accept the add-on items. It was moved by Board Member Bass. It was second by Board Member Taylor.
Madam
Okay,
Chair,
I'll do roll call.
yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
I'm sorry.
I wanted to ask if these are actually add-on items as in their resolutions or resolutions, or whether they're just supporting documents that are being added to the already items that you have. Because if they're supporting documents, you don't need
Yes.
to vote on them.
Supporting documents.
Well,
Through the chair, yes, the items that are to the right of you are supporting documents to the actual agenda that we'll be discussing this evening. So it's not
Okay.
an item that needs to be voted on.
Okay, for clarification, there is one there that says the request for proposals for the bookkeeping and accounting services. That's add-on, right?
This is actually a part of item H2. That's the RFP, the actual application for the RFP.
Okay, okay. All right, so we don't need to vote on those items, Madam Attorney.
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right. All right, we rescind that.
Confirmed.
Okay, so now we're going to move to the approval of the minutes for 5/25/2022.
Move it.
Moved by Vice Chair Davis,
Second.
second by Board Member Taylor. Any corrections? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Board Member Bass.
Yes.
Board Member Taylor,
Yes.
Vice Chair Davis,
Yes.
Chair Russell,
Yes.
minutes passed.
Now we're gonna move to public comments, and I think we have someone online that will be presenting. So public comments is now open. I'll turn the floor over to the Executive Director.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So tonight we have our audit team from Markham to give us a presentation. I'll turn the floor over to them.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Board of Directors and CRA Executive Director, meeting attendees. My name is Mo Riza, and I am with the firm of Markham LLP. And with me today is, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, and with me today is also my colleague Brandon Lopez. For the record, Markham LLP, where our offices is located at 1 Southeast 3rd Avenue, Suite 1100, Miami, Florida 33131. I'm here today to present the CRA financial statements. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with the hopes that this is going to work. And share. Could you please confirm that you see my screen? It's a CRA financial statement.
Yes.
Thank you. So this is a copy of the final issued CRA financial statements for the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency for the year ended September 30th, 2020. Although we are here today presenting this document on September 20th, this document was issued and released to you via email on September 1st, 2022. The financial statement was prepared by the CRA's management staff in collaboration with the city finance team. As part of the document, if you follow along after the table of contents, you will find our independent auditor's report. The first paragraph of the independent.
Excuse me, sir. Mr. Lobo, can you make the screen a little bit, the wording a little bit bigger?
You see it now better?
Yes, that's better. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is our independent auditor's report. The first paragraph makes reference to what we've audited, which is the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency financial statements for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2020. Following that, it makes reference to what is management responsible for. And management is responsible for preparing these financial statements in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. The third paragraph makes reference to our responsibility, Markham's responsibility as your independent auditor. And we're responsible to express an opinion on these financial statements. And we do so by following two sets of standards. The auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America, and the government auditing standards, also known as GAGAS or Yellow Book, issued by the Comptroller General of the United States. Following printed page 1, it leads us to our opinion paragraph, which makes reference to our opinion on the financial statements. And in our opinion, the financial statements referred to, which were released on September 1st, present fairly non-material respects the respective financial position of the CRA as of September 30th and the respective changes in financial position for the fiscal year ended in accordance with US GAAP. Following our opinions paragraph, we do make reference to our Yellow Book report, or also our government auditing standards report, which we make reference to certain recommendations that we have provided to the agency. We'll go into that further now. Following the auditor's report, you will come across what is known as the management discussion and analysis. The management discussion analysis, the purpose of it is to compare current year activity as compared to prior year activity. So if you want a synopsis or a summary of where the CRA stands in an operational aspect, the management discussion analysis, which was put together by management, gives a good overview of its objectives and current year operations as compared to prior fiscal year. And the MD&A could be found on pages 3 through printed page 10. That's the management discussion and analysis. Following the MD&A section, we come across the statement of net position. This is a statement of net position as of September 30th, 2020, which reflects all the assets, liabilities, and the net position of the CRA on a full accrual basis. As noted on this page, as of September 30th, 2020, the CRA held cash accounts of $861,000. It had activity due from the city of $844,000. It had corresponding accounts payable and a liability due to the city for expenses paid on behalf of the CRA, leading you to a total positive restricted net position of 1.1, which reflects resources accumulated by the CRA for future operations. Following that, we also have the statement of activities. Based on governmental accounting standards, a statement of activities first reflects your expenses. Expenses of $411,000 for the fiscal year 2020. What were the inflows reported by the CRA is your tax incremental revenues of $734, giving you a positive change in net position of $323,000. Following is a fund financial statement on a modified accrual basis and the footnotes. I do want to make reference to the fact that what we're presenting here today is a standalone CRA audited financial statements. And this is the first time the CRA has been audited in regards to being a separately owned entity. In years past, the CRA was audited as a non-major fund as part of the city's financial statements. But for the first time, the CRA is producing this standalone audited financial statements. The footnotes make reference and provide the readers history on the CRA, how it was established and the purpose, and how it's governed. Following the footnotes, it goes into details about what is the composition of the assets, including capital assets as of year end, if any exist, and the purpose and classification of fund balance. As we know, the CRA's accumulated resources, also known as net position, are restricted for the sole purpose of what the CRA was established for. It cannot be used for any other purpose. We have a disclosure noted as related party transactions. This makes reference to the fact that there is transactions between the CRA and the city of Opa-locka. So we make reference to that, given the fact that it is a separate legal entity. It should be accounted as such, that any transactions with the city are related party transactions, but are not considered to be one sole entity. We are talking about two separate entities here, the city and the CRA. Following the footnotes, we lead to the budgetary schedule, where we compare the original budgetary schedule of the CRA, the final budget, which included an increase in projected or budgeted property tax incremental revenues, and we compare that to current year activity, and we make reference to any differences between what was budgeted for and what was the actual experience of the CRA's fiscal activity. Pleased to say that there was no items that we came across that were not budgeted for when it comes to expenses. In our opinion, the expenses that were posted to the CRA for fiscal year 2020 were in line with the expected budget and were in line with the expectation or purpose of the CRA. Following the budgetary schedule, we lead to our compliance reports. And our compliance reports makes reference to items that we bring to the attention of the CRA, which could be improved or it could be seen as an overall recommendation. Not going into details, but as many of you may know, one of the items that we reported here was the fact that under Florida statutes, these audited financial statements have to be issued 9 months after year end. At the moment, the CRA exceeded that timeline, but we've worked with the CRA personnel and city personnel to determine proper protocols and policies and procedures to work towards meeting that state deadline in future years. Also, another item that we make reference to is not a finding. It is a general recommendation, and it's the last page of the document. It's called a current year recommendation to improve financial management. Again, for the record, this MLC 2020-01 is not a finding. It's a general recommendation. This recommendation makes reference to the fact that there is related party transactions between the CRA and the city of Opa-locka. And we would like to recommend that the purpose and activity that is being flown between those two entities be governed by an agreement or an internal memorandum to ensure that in future years it could be reused as a reference or as a blueprint to support activity that has occurred during the fiscal year. We understand that the city and the CRA do have in certain times the same personnel managing or helping and assisting with the operations of the CRA, but we must remember that they're two separate legal entities. And as such, any activity, for example, where the city pays an expense on behalf of the CRA and in future months it's reimbursed by the CRA, that type of activity is acceptable, is allowed, and is expected. But we think as a best practice that a document in writing, a document be made to be a reference point of the expectation of that type of activity and the approval process by you as a board. That's one of the items we bring to your attention. Additionally, on that same day, we issued our communication letter to those charged with governance. In the same electronic email that we released the financial statement, this letter was issued there, where we make reference to the fact that we've issued the financial statements and we bring to your attention anything that is concerning that is excluded outside of the financial statements. Nothing to report that is of unusual activity, other than the fact that this is our first year as both the city and the CRA auditors. If you recall, the city issued an RFP subsequent to the issuance of the 2019 financial statements, and we were given the opportunity to work with the city and the CRA. As such, we make reference to the fact that this is the first year. And when you have a change in auditor, that does require additional procedures that are governed by our professional standards. So we do bring that to your attention. That summarizes our presentation and the documents that we made available and released on September 1st. Again, this is just to present the documents in a formal manner, but the documents that were released earlier in the month still stand and have not changed. Again, we'll accept any questions at the moment.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions from, I'm sorry, Mr. Manager, you want to make any comments? Okay. Any questions from the board members?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir. Vice Chair Davis.
thank you. I have one question to the presenter as it relates to the official opinion.
Yes, sir.
That audit, what was the official opinion rendered?
On September 1st, we issued a clean opinion. A clean opinion makes reference to the fact that the financial statement readers or the users of the financial statements could rely on these financial statements to be complete and accurate. I remind you that a financial audit is to provide reasonable assurance, but not absolute assurance. I also make the disclaimer that the fact that, yes, we issued a clean opinion, which is also known as an unmodified opinion. But that being said, we also mentioned that there is room for improvement. And as mentioned throughout my presentation, I made reference to what are those items that we believe there's room for improvement for.
All right, thank you. I also heard you mention the statement of activities. My background is in the nonprofit sector, and I know that's a document that's usually required for
Yes, sir.
nonprofit accounting purposes. Is that also required on the city side? Relevant to GAAP or whatever regulatory agencies you guys have?
Yes, so we have when it comes to a US GAAP, United States Generally Accepted Accounting Principles that are followed by governmental entities such as the city and the CRA, they're prescribed by the Government Accounting Standards Board. The Government Accounting Standards Board required a set of statements. Like you mentioned, one of those statements is the statement of activities. The only difference that I would say if you were to compare a statement of activities in the non-for-profit arena as compared to the government arena is in a government arena, the statement of activity starts with expenses as opposed to revenues. So you start with expenses on top, then revenues, and then the net effect of that difference. It's just, it looks a little, the format is different, but it is to provide the same purpose.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, thank you, sir, for the comprehensive report. And do we need to accept it, Mr. Manager, or is it something that we need to accept as a board? Okay, just a presentation. The only comment that I would have is in the future, it would be good if we had the document in front of us to make sure that we are following along. Some of our eyes are not as good as we would like them to be, so looking up there is a stretch. But thank you very much. Very well presented and very good audit report.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be of service. It is our pleasure. Have a good night.
And we will make sure that we work on those recommendations. We don't have any findings, which is a good thing. But we'll work on the recommendations that were given to us. And we have to answer the recommendations as well, right? Okay.
Correct. Just to clarify, management's responses is included in the report. So outside of our items that we report, when you have received a copy or make reference to the document we released on September 1st, management does have an opportunity to say, we do agree with the auditor or we disagree with the auditor. Yes. In this case, the CRA personnel mentioned that they do agree with the auditor's recommendations. And it also goes into detail, what is the projection of or outcome of what they want to do to fix the recommendations.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Have a good
document. Board members will be able to peruse that better and see exactly what he's talking about. Great job, staff. There is room for improvement, but good job. Good job.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Okay, we're going to move right on to our first resolution. Madam Attorney, please.
A resolution of the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency, OCRA, authorizing the CRA manager to issue a request for qualifications, RFQ, for legal services, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date.
Can someone move it, please? Move it. Moved by Board Member Bass.
Second.
Second by Board Member Taylor. Any, Mr. Manager, you'd like to say something, please?
Yes, ma'am. So this is an item that was brought upon review of the executive team as well as the board regarding the findings, the audit findings that we have to address, the actual findings. So this is an effort for us to clean up the process and actually address this item and this finding.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just want to say, he just went, Vice Chair Davis just went to get his book. So,
Okay, so
Madam Chair, oh, I just wanted to put in a comment and advice on the record. So as the attorneys for the CRA wanted to provide some advice and insight for the board. This is originally going out as an RFP, but we did let staff know that it was more appropriate for it to go out as an RFQ to get more qualified candidates. We want to make it clear that we don't think that the item should be procured. The CRA, to confirm, the CRA isn't in violation of any improper or finding or any violation of law. Government entities, including CRAs, aren't required to procure legal services. And for the record, that's 287.0573E. And the CRA hasn't been in violation of any state finding. We did provide this information to Mr. Pate when he was here and have continued to serve as the CRA attorneys. The city and the CRA have a contract for several services and certain contractors of the city to support the CRA. And this is through a memorandum of understanding that's currently in place. And the legal department is a valid contract under the MOU. We just want to make sure that that was on record to make sure that you all know that you're not in violation of anything. To be clear, we're not looking to retain the this work.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
I apologize. Attorney Cobbs,
Mhm.
some of us can't hear you because of the mask, or if you don't mind, they want to hear you more clearer. Thank you.
Do I need to start over or do you?
Please start over. Board member Vice Chair Davis had walked out and I think he needs to hear this in full.
Okay,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
so just want to put advice and insight on the record for the board as CRA attorneys. This was originally going out as an RFP, and we did advise staff that an RFQ is more appropriate to get more qualified candidates. We did want to make it clear that we do not believe that the services should be procured. To confirm, the CRA is not in violation of any improper finding or violation of law. Government entities, including CRAs, aren't required to procure legal services. And for the record, that is Florida Statute 287.0573E. The CRA is in violation of any state finding as well. We did provide this information to Mr. Pate when he was here, and I've continued to serve as the CRA attorneys. Secondly, the city and the CRA have a contract for special services and certain contractors of the city to support the CRA. And this is through a memorandum of understanding that is currently in place. And the legal department is a valid contract under that MOU. To make things clear for you all, the legal department, we're not seeking to retain this work, but we're looking to get you guys into the hands of a qualified attorney. We do know the work involved with the CRA as well as the staff, and believe that the CRA would benefit from competent representation, such as Michael Haywood. He's been representing CRAs since they were first established by law. And additionally, the procurement process would cost money, and the board may end up with someone who isn't qualified to do the work. So we would recommend setting a date for Mr. Haygood, to present to you at your next meeting for your consideration of his hiring. And there's a need for the city attorney's office to understand what's going on with the CRA. And we think that would be best with someone that we know is going to be honest, transparent, and non-political. So we do recommend Mr. Michael Haygood. He's been practicing since 1975, and he's a graduate of University of Florida. And he's a member of the city, county, and local government law section of the Florida Bar.
Thank you, Madam Attorney. Before we move into discussing this item, we have in front of us, it says preliminary and tentative audit findings, not an audit report. And it was, to my understanding, and I'm going to ask for clarification from the executive director. I know he was not here at that time, but I'm quite sure that he has briefed himself on an answer. We're not going to spend a lot of time going back and forth on this issue. This is a resolution before this board to for an RFQ for services, for legal services. And this is according to the findings, the audit findings that was a part of the 99 findings of the city. I'm gonna say it again. We don't want to get involved in, the CRA does not want to get involved in whatever issues the legal department has or going on in other departments throughout the city. We are separate and apart from the city. And I do know that there is a memorandum of understanding in place, but according to our bylaws, we're supposed to correct us. We're supposed to every 2 years do a go out for, I don't know whether we go out for bid. I don't have it. I don't have the a review. We go for review. I don't have the document in front of me, but I know that that's something that we're supposed to do every 2 years. And board members, we have not done that. So when we put out this RFQ, everyone is open to apply through the RFQ process. So I'm gonna ask the executive director of the CRA to take off his city hat and just wear his CRA hat for right now and just explain to us, why are we doing a RFQ?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay,
We shall be brief. As you stated, I was not actually here when these findings were made, but our current manager was. He has indeed briefed me on the issues and why we are moving forward with addressing them. And I'm going to ask that he directly speak to the finding.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
before you start, were you the manager or was Mr. Gay the manager at that time?
At the time of the findings, Mr. Gay was the manager.
But you're the one that dealt with the finding.
My role is to address the findings.
Okay, it was your role at that time to address the findings. Yes,
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
okay, go ahead.
So thank you, Madam Chair and Executive Director. This item is something that the CRA is looking to rectify. There's actually finding number 99 of the 99 findings. And a brief summation of that findings, essentially the CRA never established a due process to selecting a legal team. And there was no record of any sort of activity from the onset of the CRA. So this is an opportunity for the CRA to correct this finding, put a process in place, and also conduct ourselves in a manner that the state and the county deems acceptable, so we can rectify this finding. As well as you mentioned, within our MOU, actually chapter 2, section 2.7.2, employees, agents, and consultants, it indicates the duration of such employment contracts entered into by the executive director shall not exceed 2 years unless approved by the CRA board. Therefore, the existing contract needed to be reviewed anyways, and there was no inkling of that activity taking place at this time. So what we're here to do today is pretty much clean up the CRA in terms of its processes for contractual agreements to ensure that we're in line with the county and the state finding.
Okay. Board members, questions, concerns?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir, Vice Chair.
thank you. I don't really have a question, but I do remember this finding and ultimately, I'm glad that we're at a point where we're addressing it. Obviously, I think a year or 2 years ago, we was able to pass the MOU with the city, which was another audit finding. So it's great to see that we are addressing those concerns that were laid out by the state of Florida Auditor General's office.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Anyone else?
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
if I'm understanding this correctly,
You got to
It-
talk.
if I'm
in-
understanding this correctly, the issue is not that we have to secure our own legal support team. It is how we're gonna do it. If it is gonna be our RFQ or RFP, is that the base of it?
Well, for the board, this resolution is going through a RFQ.
Mhm.
When the attorney read into the record her document, they are recommending an RFP, I think you said.
No, ma'am. There,
You recommended an RFQ.
we
but
recommended the RFQ. We're just saying that it doesn't need to go through procurement process. As in you all would be able to pick your own competent representation. You won't have to go through a formal process that's gonna cost you money and where you'll be in more control of who it is that's gonna be your next representation.
Okay, did you understand that,
Yes,
board member?
yes, okay, I got it.
Madam Chair, I have a question now.
Yes,
So-
sir.
So it doesn't have to be procured, is what she's saying?
Correct. Legal services do not have to be procured by government entities, and that's including CRAs.
Okay, so the audit finding that speaks to procurement and contract, it just speaks to a process in place is basically,
Correct. It's about controls for the CRA and it's providing a recommendation.
which gives us the flexibility to do a RFQ or RFQ.
It procured in how you would want it. Yes, we recommend the RFQ because it gives you more qualified candidates rather than the lowest amount person.
Right, because RFP, we would, the CRA would put out, like what we would like to see and have firms respond, whereas the RFQ would
Yeah.
ultimately
Probably the-
give them, right, we'll just kind of solicit and see what we get back.
And what
So
their
it's more broad.
qualifications
Got
are.
it. Okay.
So, Madam Attorney, I'm a little confused right now. In the document that you read, in the statement that you read, you stated that we did not have to put it out for RFQ. You said that we could do another type of process. You said that we could just solicit.
Right, well, you would find your representations that you would like. You could have them come and present to you all, and then you would be able to choose in that manner.
But that would be almost the same as the RFQ.
Well, you wouldn't be going through a cost process either, and it would take longer. It's you all's choice. This is our
Yes.
recommendation.
I understand that you're just making a recommendation to us and it's up to us as a board as to how we handle it. I was just wondering the reasoning behind it, but I understand. I'm fine now. I understand.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir. Board Member Taylor.
so the resolution that we're voting on tonight will be a RFQ with procurement. So I just want to get it clarity, but what legal is saying is we can do the same thing without procuring it, right? Okay, so if we went the way that legal is suggesting, we would need to do a friendly amendment to the resolution. Because I'm only looking at the fourth whereas.
Madam Chair,
Yes, just for a second, let me finish.
Oh, I'm,
You done?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead, answer please.
through the chair to Board Member Taylor, the alternative would be to vote down this resolution and allow the administration to present at minimum 3 candidates for your consideration. And select from the 3 candidates and accordingly bypass the RFQ process.
I like that.
Is that something that you would be amenable to?
Yes, we are open as executive team to both processes. And in fact, from the city manager's office, we do employ both processes. Usually for limited services, for services that are expansive, you want to secure the best possible option that you can. And we all know that to be the RFQ and the RFP processes. Here, I do lean toward the RFQ process, given that the amount of talented attorneys that are out there. We want to secure the best possible services for consideration for the CRA. However, there is a time limitation on going the RFQ process. And if directed to provide 3 candidates for presentation, we could get that done a lot faster.
Okay. All right, so then that means that you all would, you would pull this resolution and then you all would go through that process, and by the next meeting, you think you could have 3 candidates here along with the, there was a recommendation that came through the attorney's office as well. And, you know, it will be up to staff as to who you all, bring before us. But if that would take less time, board members, what is your thoughts?
I'm in agreement with that.
I mean, I agree, as long as it satisfy finding 99, which is the legal services, procurement, and contract monitoring. As long as we satisfy that, I'm fine.
Madam
Okay.
Chair,
Yes, sir.
it will satisfy the findings, and then I'm hearing the will of the board to pull, I'd like to pull this item and have candidates ready for presentation at the next CRA meeting.
Thank you. So, Madam Clerk, we're pulling the item.
Confirmed.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Attorney and Mr. Manager. Thank you very much for that. Okay, resolution number 2.
A resolution of the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency, OCRA, authorizing the CRA manager to issue a request for proposals for bookkeeping services to address findings of the State Auditor General 2020 report items number 85, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, and 92, recommending organizational financial controls, providing for incorporation recitals, providing for an effective date.
Can someone move it, please?
Move it.
Moved by Board Member Taylor,
Second.
second by Board Member Bass. Discussion. First, Mr. Manager, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Considering the recommendations of the city attorney regarding the legal services, those same legal findings would hold here for this particular resolution, given that you have directed us to provide you with 3 candidates for your consideration for legal services. We'd like to do the same for this item, and if it be the will of the board, we would like to pull this item and bring to you 3 candidates for your consideration for bookkeeping services.
Sounds good to me. What about the rest of the board?
We're good.
Okay, so that's the will of the board, so we'll be pulling this item as well, Madam Clerk.
So just for the record, we are deferring item resolution 2.
We're pulling it.
Pulling, okay,
Yes.
confirmed.
Okay, thank you very much. Resolution 3. Madam Attorney, please.
A resolution of the Board of the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency, OCRA, approving and adopting the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency's proposed general operating and tax increment fund budget for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2022 and ending September 30th, 2023, as set forth in Exhibit A, directing the executive director to transmit a copy of said budget to Miami-Dade County, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for severability, providing for conflict and repealer, providing for scrivener's errors, providing for an effective date.
Can someone move it, please?
Move it.
Moved by Board Member Taylor,
Second.
second by Board Member Vice Chair Davis. Discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, this is part of, this has been a cleanup meeting for us, per se,
Yeah.
which is why we have requested and grateful to have a quorum to address these things that have been pending. Here is just to transmit the budget to Miami-Dade County, and which is required of the OCRA, and we like to move forward so we're in compliance.
Someone wants to go first? Y'all ready? Okay. Mr. Executive Director. When I look at this budget here before me, in the year 2021-22, and I look at what we're forecasting for 23. The numbers, I know that we have more money on the table, but the numbers in some of these items have increased tremendously. And I'm gonna ask you some questions about some of the items that have tremendously increased. Okay, ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, on commercial grants. We started out with $245,000. Now we're going up to $400,000. Can you tell me, first let me say that you all know I like to see budget narratives. If I had a budget narrative that would help me in identifying what the increase is, it would let me know, okay? I see some things going up here, like
Madam
we have
Chair.
a budget narrative.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
if you look to your right in the handouts that were provided to you, the budget narrative should be item number 3.
the,
In your in the handouts to the right, the budget narrative was provided.
okay. As I said, when I first came in, we received today too many documents on the dais. So if I would have had this maybe ahead of time, I wouldn't have as many questions. So since I didn't, I'm gonna act like I don't have it. Okay? So let's go back to this. The $400,000 from 245 to commercial grants. What are commercial grants, first of all?
Madam Chair, the commercial
sir.
grants are the small business grants that we're going to be providing to the small businesses of the city of Opa-locka that reside in our CRA.
And the reason why we increased it, because we want to give more to more business.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
And overall, you will see the push for the increases was as we are required by statute to account for utilization of 100% of the funds.
mhm,
We had not done that in the previous budget, so it was necessary with the adjusted numbers that we received to increase some items. And this was one of the most important items for the board. So we did take some time to allocate additional funding, significant funding to that exercise.
okay. All right. I see that other contracted services was something else that caught my eye. It went from $500 to 302. Tell me what is other contracted services?
Madam Chair, that is the CRA plan update. We actually had a review with our county oversight for our CRA,
Mhm,
and that was done upon her recommendation.
okay. Okay, I'm very happy to see that we're putting some dollars into renovating the old historical city hall. Everybody in the community on the dais and all around the Miami-Dade County wants to see the historical city hall taken care of. So I'm happy to see that. Streetscape, I see we're putting $200,000 in that. It would be a good idea. We've had it in our budget for years now, and we haven't done anything towards starting or and one of the things was lighting, starting it or even doing anything. So I would love to see us go ahead and get started with the streetscape, especially in the downtown area. Another item that I am concerned about where it says insurance. on the next page, it talks about insurance, and I've asked this question many times. The insurance that the CRA provides, does it cover myself and the other appointment of the to this board? Because I know it covers the ones that sit on the city commission is covered, but I want to make sure that we that appointed members are a part of that insurance.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
as this has been a question that's important to you for some time, we are looking at a legal response to give us guidance on that. I also believe that the budget administrator from the city has looked into that, and I will provide him the floor to addressing of his findings.
Good evening, Board. Bob Henderson, Budget Administrator. I don't have a crisp answer at the moment. I believe we did research it before, and I believe in terms of officer insurance and so forth, you are covered. That's the type of insurance that would be involved there.
But you believe, you're not sure, and I've asked
Yes, ma'am.
before several times for several years that I've said on this board, can someone please give me a copy of a document that says that myself, and at that time, it was board member Titus, that we are covered under that insurance, and I haven't received that document yet. And I really don't want to hear that we believe, because we need to know that we're covered. We've been sitting up here, we volunteer our time, just like everyone else, and that should be a priority to staff to make sure that, you know, that we're covered under the insurance.
Yes, ma'am. It was researched once. I just don't remember what the conclusion was at the time. I'll have to get the documentation on that
Okay, can you give me a turnaround time?
tomorrow.
Thank you.
Next meeting. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Executive Director, can you please follow up and make sure that that information is forwarded to us, and that we, if we're not covered, that immediately that the appointments on this board is covered under that insurance that we're paying for?
Yes, Madam Chair. In addition, we will seek, unless the documents provided by Mr. Anathan are binding and speak directly to the issue, we would like to also continue to seek counsel on this issue. If as Mr. Anathan says that the a finding is affirmative, we will immediately secure insurance, additional insurance if that's necessary, and provide you with that documentation by close of business on Friday.
For this board, is it the same insurance that would be covering the city?
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else? Any other board members?
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I just made a comment. I said that other board members are also not covered by insurance.
Well, that can't be so, because we're paying for it. It's a part of the budget and we're paying for it. So the insurance has to be covering someone if we're paying for it, unless,
Madam Chair, if I may.
go ahead, Vice Chair.
I think we talk about two different sort of insurances. I was
Of course,
I
'cause
was-
this is
yeah.
board insurance.
right.
This
One
is-
is liability, I believe, and the other
Yes.
ones that we're referring to is health insurance.
Okay,
So
no, I'm not referring
yeah.
to that. I'm referring to the board insurance. I
Liability.
should know exactly. I'm referring to the board insurance that covers boards. No, not as, not that kind. No, ma'am. That's, no, sir. That's, we're talking about board insurance that covers board members. And, if it is covered, If it is covered under the city insurance, normally it's an additional rider that covers your board, because I have a board and I know I have to cover them, so it's an additional rider. And if we're not, can the CRA get reimbursed? Because we didn't have it. We've been being charged for it.
If the CRA is being charged for it, the city will absolutely reimburse us.
Thank you. Okay. All right, that's all of, other than that, the budget looks good, looks like we're moving, but we need to move some projects. And I know you're gonna give us an update tonight on the rental and housing assistance and where we are. So I'm gonna wait on that. I'm not gonna say anything else. I'm gonna wait on that. Any other board members concerning the budget? Okay, all righty, let's go on to, then we'll move right on to the discussion of,
Madam
discussion.
Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I have to do the vote if you don't mind.
Oh, we gotta vote on it.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, it was for confirmation. It was moved by Board Member Taylor and it was second by Vice Chair Davis. Okay. Board Member Bass,
Yes.
Board Member Taylor,
Yes.
Vice Chair Davis,
Yes.
Chair Russell,
Yes,
item passed.
okay. So when I go home, I look at my budget narrative. That we just got, okay. Now, I won't throw you on, okay, I won't throw the shade. Anyway, let's go into the discussion items that we have before us, please, Mr. Manager or Mr. Executive Director.
Thank you.
Excuse me, we did not introduce to the board the new employee that's sitting down here.
That's a part of our announcements tonight.
Oh, okay, all right,
Yes.
go ahead.
So first, I'd like to say that we did have our second meeting with our new PR firm. And I'd like to state that we are secured dates for workshops for the mortgage and rental assistance programs for the residents. The mortgage and rental assistance program will be Wednesday, October 26th, 5:30 PM to 7 PM here at Shabundi, right before our commission meeting, which will also be on October 26th. So we'll be getting the word, working with the firms to get the word out to the residents so that we can ensure maximum participation for that. We're very, very excited to be moving that item forward finally. The city will also be participating with the CRA so that so that all residents will have access to these funds, whether or not they live in the CRA or not. We will also have established a date for the workshop for the small business grant. That is going to require a little bit more significant time. So we've set aside Saturday, November 12th from 11 AM to 2 PM. That workshop both workshops will entail the city and the CRA working together so that the residents that come will not be required to know whether or not their funds are going to be coming from the CRA or from the city. They'll just be submitting applications and we'll begin the process. We anticipate those funds will be rolling out 30 days from those workshops. So looking for rental assistance and mortgage assistance to be within the hands of the residents by the December 1st. And we also anticipate that small business grants will actually be in the hands of the residents by January 1st, just in time for the new year. Very, very excited to move these programs along. We're very pleased that the board has voted and approved these, and we are anticipating a great response from our residents as we are going to have an aggressive PR campaign which will include our Opa TV, flyers, and our social media engagement of our residents. So that's a significant announcement that I know that you all have been anticipating, and we're excited to move that forward. Next, I'm going to turn over the floor to our CRA manager to introduce our new employee.
Thank you, Mr. Director. At this time, I would like to acknowledge our new project coordinator. She's in week 2.5, 3. Miss Tiffany Dallas. She actually comes to us from the Miami-Dade Public School System. And I will give her an opportunity, 2 seconds to introduce herself to the board. Miss Dallas.
Ms. Dallas?
I apologize, I didn't hear you. Good evening. My name is Tiffany Dallas. I'm the new project coordinator for the CRA. Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we've received some new information from the city attorney regarding one of the items. I'm going to request that she read the statute into the record so that we may bring an item back for vote and consideration by the board.
Okay.
This is regarding the bookkeeping item, and I had to check the statute to make sure. But the bookkeeping does need to go through procurement. Per the procurement statute, there are only certain contractual services and commodities that are not subject to the competitive solicitation requirements. And those are artistic services, academic program reviews, lectures by individuals, legal services, health services, services provided to persons with mental or physical disabilities by nonprofit corporations, Medicaid services delivered to an eligible Medicaid recipient, family placement services, prevention services related to mental health, training and education services provided to injured employees, contracts pursuant to section 337.11, which is emergency repairs, services or commodities provided by governmental entities, and statewide public service announcement programs provided by Florida statewide nonprofit corporation. So for this item, you all could, by majority vote, bring back the bookkeeping to reconsider it, and then you could proceed as usual.
Okay, so we can't vote on it tonight. We have to bring it back the next meeting?
No, I think they're looking for a motion to reconsider the
Okay,
item. I'll
so-
put the motion on the floor.
Okay,
And I
motion
second it.
has been put on the floor by Vice Chair Davis,
I second it.
second by Board Member Taylor. Roll call, Madam Clerk, please. And this is for the bookkeeping services.
Correct.
Okay, so just for clarification, this is for the bookkeeping service,
To bring it back.
to bring it back.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Board Member Bass?
Yes.
Okay, Board Member Taylor,
Yes.
Vice Chair Davis,
Yes.
Chair Russell.
Yes, and thank you, Madam Attorney, for that
You're welcome.
clarification.
And I can read it back into the record if
Yes,
you would like. A resolution of the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency, OCRA, authorizing the CRA manager to issue a request for proposals, RFP, for bookkeeping services to address findings of the State Auditor General 2020 report items number 85, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, and 92, recommending organizational financial controls, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date.
move it, someone, please.
Move it.
Move it by,
Second.
moved and second, moved by Board Member Taylor, second by Vice Chair Davis. Roll call, please.
Board Member Bass?
Yes.
Board Member Taylor,
Yes.
Vice Chair Davis?
Yes.
Chair Russell?
Yes,
Okay, item passed.
thank you. Any other announcements? Okay, we also acknowledge that you all received a copy of the bank statement, and along with the bank statement, Donna, drum roll, drum roll, drum roll. We received a printout of expenditures today. Look at there. Yeah, look at there.
It's the shade.
Oh my God, we're just moving forward like I tell you. Yeah,
It's the shade for me, Madam Chair.
late but on time, late but on time. All right, all right. Well, I tell you, Mr. CRA director, manager, you're doing a great job. Mr.
Thank you, Madam
Manager,
Chair.
you're doing a great job.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Project Manager, we're looking for you to do a great job. Okay, all right. Anything else from the board or financial report? We've already seen it. We good. Unless someone have any questions for Mr. Anthony. No, no questions? Okay.
Madam
Any
Chair,
board comment, sir?
have an event to announce.
Okay, after any board comments by board members packing up their bags?
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, just a quick question,
Excuse me?
just a quick question.
Yes,
Can you confirm the date for the career fair?
confirm the date for what?
The career fair, right?
I think,
Don't we have a career fair coming up? Mhm.
I don't know anything about that. CRA doesn't, that's a CRA event?
Thought it was, no?
No.
Okay.
No, that's actually a city event. Moving forward, the city has started to put in developer agreements that they do career fairs to hire residents
Okay,
for their projects. And we are putting on the first career fair with the new amended developer agreement with Prologix, the new warehouse.
okay. All right. But you have an announcement, right?
Absolutely. The CRA is going to be partnering with, for businesses that are in the CRA is going to be partnering with the city of Opa-locka on our new business highlight. Our first new business highlight will be DC to Win, a Dominican restaurant just in time for us to acknowledge Hispanic Heritage Month. That will be this Friday. We will also be inviting the city employees to join us, as well as the elected officials and all board members.
What time?
12 to 2.
Okay, lunchtime,
Yes, ma'am.
Friday.
It will be Friday so that the city employees can partake, and we will be announcing some specials for the residents to come out and enjoy. It's very, very important that we get maximum participation for these events. Both the CRA and the city of Opa-locka wants to maximize coverage, public relations and media as much as possible. So we're going to be throwing all of our resources to ensure that the businesses that we highlight have a successful PR campaign, a successful grand opening or ribbon cutting if necessary. And we are able to sustain their tenure here in the city.
So have you all advertised that one as of yet?
This was just announced.
Okay.
This was just decided on, so this is the first one. We just finished the flyer tonight and we'll be pushing it out tomorrow.
Okay, all right. So when we get it, we'll make sure that all of us try to make sure we put it on our social media so people will come out and support the businesses in Opa-locka. And I think that's a great, great, great start to making our business people feel welcome in the city. And then we support the businesses that are in our city.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'm not gonna tell you who's asked the question, but somebody asked, is there gonna be food? Is that what you wanted me to ask, Ms. Bass? In Ms. Hall? Is that what y'all wanted to know? Ms. Dallas, Ms. Hall, and Ms. Bass.
Yes, there's going to be food for cost, right?
We are working with resources that we have in the city so that there will be a special rate. Haven't announced it yet, but we're looking at a $5 lunch rate.
Okay, that sounds good.
What time is the event, Mr. Manager?
I gotta drive all the way from my job.
It's for $5.
But we'll be at $5. 12 to 2, okay.
That's lunchtime. So we look forward to it and should be some
excited.
good Hispanic food,
Yes,
Dominican food.
yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, so that's Friday from 12 to 2. What's the address?
Just a moment. Right on. Yeah. I'll get the address, but it's on Alibaba, right across from 1100 Alibaba.
Okay, all right, 1100 Alibaba. Everybody hear that? So try to make, tell your family and friends to come out Friday from 12 to 2 and have lunch.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you all too. Thank everyone for being here tonight. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, if you need it.
Y'all be moving too fast. Y'all